talking about a ferrocerium rod. That's what I have right here in front of me. I believe that a ferrocerium rod is one of the best fire ignition sources that you can carry, and here's why. Ferro rod is virtually indestructible. The only thing that can really mess this up is if it melts, because it is a metal rod. It's not going to break too easy. If it rusts, all you have to do is scrape the rust off. It's waterproof. I mean, it's probably the perfect ignition source. To use it, all you have to do is scrape it with a hard object to create sparks, and that will ignite whatever tinder source you happen to be using. Now, some ferro rods come with a small striker attached, and they have plastic handles on them. Those are good short ones that you can fit in your pocket or as a backup in your backpack. This one right here is a 6" by 1/2" blank ferrocerium rod, and I've wrapped 1" Gorilla duct tape around it to give me a handle. The longer and bigger the rod, the more material you can scrape off of that to create more sparks. So if I have a rod that long, there's going to be less material scraped off of it in one strike versus a rod this long. Now, with that duct tape on there, I can actually unwrap that duct tape, shred it into fine shreds, and it will ignite with sparks from this rod. So that's a tinder source on this rod. This paracord that I have on here as a lanyard for my wrist is actually a special type of paracord called fire cord. So I'm not sure if you can see, it has a small red strand in it, and I have a red strand from another piece right here. So it's regular 7-strand paracord with an added 8 burnable strands. So all you need to do is untwist that, process it down, and it will light with your ferro rod. And I've tested that, and it is somewhat water resistant. It burns when it's damp. So I basically have an ignition source and a tinder source all in one package. This is an emergency tinder source. What I will probably use for tinder source most of the time starting fires is fat wood. Fat wood is the resinous area of a pine tree, and those resins, you know, they are very flammable. And pine wood is also a dry soft wood that burns very readily as well. So this is a perfect fire package right here. And fat wood is probably one of my favorite tinder sources, whether it's natural or man-made. Out of natural and man-made tinder sources, this is probably my favorite. It burns when it's wet. It burns a good long time, easily. Alright, so I've got this fire cord here. I just kind of untwisted that to shred it up. So to light this, we're going to put it on the stump. We'll do it kind of similar to the way we would do this if it were fat wood shavings. Plant the knife, just throw the sparks down into it, and you can see that's on fire now. So this paracord lanyard I have on here is real versatile. It gives me a good anchor point to use this ferro rod, but it also gives me a quick emergency tinder source. And I could use this to light strips of duct tape off of here. Easier to extend that flame. And that's going to help me if I ever, fall through the ice, need a fire super fast. I can just take that lanyard off of there, light it up, and I'm good to go. So, first let's talk a little bit about how we're going to strike this ferro rod correctly. Because there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. First, you want to make sure that your knife that you're using has a good sharp 90-degree spine. You don't want to use the blade, it'll destroy it. You can use a piece of glass, you can use a piece of flint. Anything that has a good, hard, sharp edge on it will work. Because this ferrocerium rod is made out of particles of magnesium and ferrocerium, and those are very soft metals, That's why the ferro rod even works, because those small metal particles come off, hit the oxygen in the air, and ignite. So your striker needs to be harder than the rod. Your striker needs to be in a good, firm, anchored position. I like to put it right here off my knee. You want to hold your rod tightly and pull it towards you. You don't push the knife, you pull the rod. That's going to work the best for you. Now that's how to do it when you have something like a bird's nest or tinder bundle right in front of you. That's going to work the best for that. When you're using fat wood, and I'll show this to you real quick, what you do is you take the 90-degree spine of your knife and actually scrape the fat wood and make small fuzzy shavings of this resinous wood, and you'll need a small pile of those. And when you're doing this with fat wood on a stump, I found that it's easier to plant the rod in the stump and move the knife, put those sparks right where they need to be, and get your material lit. Alright, so that's how you strike the rod, and there's a little bit about processing fat wood as well. So, in conclusion, those are a few of the reasons why I really like a ferro rod. That's how to use it. Now you just need to practice it and see for yourself methods that work for you. One quick thing that I forgot to add, when you're striking this, a lot of times it's easier to do a hard, quick strike like that. But you're going to remove more metal if you do a slow, hard strike. You can see I left this trash bag that I'm using. Oh, I lit my coat on fire even. That's bad. A slow, hard strike. That's going to work the best for you. You're getting more sparks. If it's enough sparks to light my coat sleeve on fire, it's a lot of sparks. Now guys, if you'd like to watch a really good video on how to use a Moore knife Eldris, which is the knife that I was using today for this demo, please check out surefootsurvival.com, and there's a really good video on there on how to use this Moore knife Eldris. So thanks guys for watching this video. I hope you learned something. Don't wear a flammable coat in the woods.